Previously in X-Men. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're about to do this. Our heroes have fought Magneto, Juggernaut, Sentinels, dinosaurs, aliens, a cabal of superpowered socialite racists, ninja assassins, Doctor Doom, and more. But never have they entered into the paranormal, folklore horror realm of the Lord of Darkness, Master of the Damned, Vlad Tepes, also known as Dracula. I am Jason Lapidus.
You want to do me? And I'm super excited for you to use that voice during this entire show. I'm Chris Sanagan.
And we are Group of Seven Comics. Welcome to episode 74 of our never-ending Tuesday night live stream read-through of the X-Men comics that became classic as we read Uncanny X-Men 159 by Chris Claremont, guest artist Bill Sienkiewicz, and inker Bob Wiacek, cover date of July 1982. And we are joined by our very special guest, cartoonist known as the Becka Kinzie. How are you, Becka?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing okay.
Fantastic.
It's our never-ending Tuesday night live stream. We're doing great. It never ends.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. It won't go away.
It won't. It really won't. Considering like when you pitched it, we're like, let's try this out. And it's like, no, I think we've missed like 1 week or 2 weeks. It's
true. There was a week where I think I was nowhere near Wi-Fi.
Right.
Okay.
It just didn't work. I was in the middle of the country.
But the people demanded. They demand we go through every X-Men comic book.
It just seemed like fun, you know?
Yeah.
Speaking of how this works, Chris, how are you reading this one today? Like, what mechanism are you using?
I'm using a 1990s technology known as a DVD-ROM for anyone who may be unfamiliar with things like dial-up, with things like CD-ROMs and DVD-ROMs. It was a thing that happened. So I'm using that, and they are the original scans of the comics, including what you'll see on the screen, including staples and all. They're pretty kind of a cool artifact. They're actually, that's the way to describe it. It's an artifact.
It is. It is. I feel like it matches you very
Thanks.
nicely in your interests and your hobbies and such. I've got my hands on this one. I got the original comic courtesy of one of our patrons. And by that, I don't mean there's a Patreon. I'm not trying to say that. But in the traditional sense, a patron is someone who like supports your art. So we have a patron named Andy who gave me a stack of X-Men comics from this time period. This one included. And otherwise, I would have been reading it in black and white in one of those right there. A big row of X-Men fat phone book style, black and white. Beautiful, essential issues, but I got to read it in the original one tonight, which is
it's like how the Medicis were patrons of like Michelangelo. And like,
it's just like that.
Florence, right? It's just like that. It's just
exactly
comics. Yeah.
And Becca, do you have a collection of X-Men comics?
I do. It's on my bookshelf right here. 1 second. It's hang on. Where is it? Okay. The Origin of Generation X.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you have this one as a kid?
No, I got this later in life. I actually won it in a draw 1 year at Toronto Comic Con, just randomly. I'm like, oh, cool. So I got a bunch of comics, and that was one of them. So.
And so, what's your entry point into X-Men as a reader, as a consumer or fan?
Just more as a fan, really. Like I started out with TV over, before I started taking reading seriously. So for me, it was the X-Men cartoons from the 90s, which the other versions of X-Men, I love them, but there's something about the 90s. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's nostalgia. I don't know, but I still love it to this day. And it was like,
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was like, for Heroes, it was the first series where I gravitated towards. I wanted to be like the female superheroes. Like I wanted to be like Storm or Rogue. Rogue is super cool in the 90s. 90s X-Men.
Right. Agreed. Yeah, she's a stand-up character in that show by far.
Yeah, and she's super strong, and the story arcs were just, it wasn't like anything that was on TV at the time. So
For sure.
yeah, so
It's also, I find it also really cool. Like that was my entry point too. Was that for sure the 90s cartoon, and it's a lot for a lot of people who tend to ring in the chat here and hang out with us, and folks you'll know from Comic-Con and those kinds of things. But I find it really kind of cool. We talk a lot how we're going through this classic run of Claremont being the writer, of John Byrne, Dave Cockrum, but like we can make it. There's so many different points along the X-Men journey that's like the iconic time. You know what I mean? Like the comics of the 80s were like, oh, that's the iconic stories. Like, yeah, they are. And it's like, oh, but the show in the 90s, like iconic. Like it's amazing how many how many iterations it has, I think is and it's like a new generation every time, which is pretty phenomenal when you think about it.
Yeah.
For sure. I think please.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I've already forgot what I was going to say. You go.
I forgot to. So.
Okay.
That's my superpower. It's just talking and everyone forgetting what they're going to say.
I agree with you, Chris. It's like that idea that there is a moment in time for everyone who comes across X-Men, if it's a good enough product that it's going to stick. Like if it resonates with people. There are people who grew up even on X-Men Evolution as a cartoon and really like love that as their version, and being old enough that I got to sort of see all of them. I got into the comics when I was about 10 years old or so, around 1985, and so by the time we get to the animated series, I'm older, and Batman animated series is on too, and those two styles of animation are just like so diametrically opposed. One is about flow and minimalizing design to create that flow and movement. The other one is like, let's try and render in a comic book kind of style, no matter how clunky or awkward it looks. But it's like the show succeeds. To me, I find it hard to watch, like hard to look at, but the performances are great from all the voice actors. And that theme song just does so much heavy lifting. Like, you can't help but kind of sing it every time you're like thinking about X-Men. It really, really works. I also think that the show does a really good job of conveying the spirit of X-Men comics and the spirit of the characters, whether it's beautifully animated or not.
Mm-hmm. And Becca, you posted earlier today just like the intro on your Instagram, just like talking about being here tonight. It was like the intro, Cyclops like blowing his eyes up in the sky.
Yes.
Like, that intro is freaking amazing. Like when you watch, like you're right, the songs pumping in the background, and they go through each of them with like it's like a 5-second power set, and you're like, yes. That like it's pretty great.
I would argue also that's the coolest version of Rogue there's ever been.
Yes, hands down, I agree with that.
The jacket and it all works.
The hair,
but also
the attitude.
She's the heavy on the team, right? Like she has
Mm-hmm.
a role in the team that she didn't exactly have in the comics for very long.
Mm-hmm.
She's introduced in X-Men comics where we're reading now, and she is, she's only been drawn twice. One artist who didn't really get her, and one artist who was the first guy to draw her, which is Michael Golden. And she's kind of androgynous. She has short hair. She's a power thief, and she's evil. That's the role she has. She's a mustache twirling.
I was going to say mustache
evil.
Yeah,
kind of uninteresting character so far, but we know she's going to go on a redemption arc. She's going to join the team. She's going to feel bad. She's going to have to earn everyone's respect. By the time the 90s roll in, Jim Lee has gotten hold of her. And as I think we said last week or the week before, he transforms all these characters into these kind of like Greco-Roman pantheon of gods. Like they're all at their physical best by the time Jim Lee renders them in his own way. And like Rogue is larger, and she looks amazing, and like her action, her power set suits the personality, or vice versa. Like she's more dynamic as a mutant, and more dynamic as a character in the show. So it's just tons of fun. She's a great character. I have an action figure of that version, and it's like
you do
great to have. Yeah, of course. I have all. I mean, you can't see now, but like the yellow suited X-Men are like the little 7 of them all right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
lucky enough to have those. Yeah, it's super cool.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
You can't really see that. That's
There we go.
maybe a little better.
Now,
There they all are.
What number is around that when we start?
275.
275. Okay, so 159. So we still got.
We'll get there, Chris.
Years. In 2 years, we'll get there.
And they only wear those costumes for a few issues. Like like it feels like. Well, I guess we'll talk about it in a couple of years, but it feels like they're trying something and they had a stutter step.
Oh, okay.
Because within a couple months of that, Marvel is convinced to kind of restart the franchise with X-Men #1, with Jim Lee being the real helm of it, and Chris Claremont is already he's packing his bag. Right. He knows he's leaving, so he writes the first couple issues, but it's not his work at all.
And that sells. That's the one that sells. Is one of those like high selling books, right?
Yeah, if you want to believe the stories that Marvel Comics sells more than international publishers, like, which they don't. I mean, I was listening to Mark Miller today talking to, I don't remember, maybe Brian Hitch in an interview from like last week or so. And he said he had just read like the breakdown of sales for comics. And Marvel and DC, I think, account for about 10% of all American comics sold in America. And it's like the other independents are like 1 or 2%. Dogman is like 40%.
Graphics.
Yeah, and manga is like the other 40 or whatever it is. It's like a massive number. Like, to talk about the X-Men #1 being like the highest selling, it's nonsense. It might be the highest selling Marvel comic of all time.
Sure.
Or between Marvel and DC, but like the notion of them as the big two is a self-perpetuated myth that they want it to seem like that, but they don't even have like less than 20% of the market share on the continent. So it's not really the big two. I mean, it's just a statistical falsehood. I know that we're talking 1990 and we're talking 2023, but it's not that far off, because if you look at the highest selling comic of all time, it's going to be something from Japan.
Yeah.
It's going to be something from Japan in Japan. Like Shonen Jump.
Yes.
They probably sell tens of millions of those every month. So
like when I go to my local library, and they have their graphic novel section, and finally they got Demon Slayer, and I started reading those. But like when I went this week, I couldn't get my hands on any copies. They're just flying off the shelves,
Yeah.
And when I go to the bookstore, or a comic book shop, and then there's like, I want to get issue or collection volume 1, but it's almost impossible, because like everything is, they'll have a bunch of these volumes, but not like, nothing's in order of the manga. And then the other one that's super popular right now is Chainsaw Man.
I saw so much Chainsaw Man at Comic-Con.
Not about a chainsaw door man.
Chris, did you see Chainsaw Man at Comic-Con?
So is that the dude who has like a chainsaw for like a head or arms?
And arms, yeah.
He's a chainsaw man. Yeah, I think I've seen that. I've seen that character a couple of times at the Comic-Con.
And then there's the little dog with the chainsaw sticking out. Like I saw the plushies everywhere at Toronto Comic-Con, and I think there was someone cosplaying as it too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was referring to, is that I kept seeing
and
cosplayers.
then like apparently there was, legend has it, at Fan Expo last year, somebody dressed as Gun Devil, and it's like this absurd, just Google the character design. It's insane. But somehow they got around dressed like that.
I love the show. I love Fan Expo and Comic-Con for that reason. Like and so this year, I know we briefly saw each other, but I brought my 12-year-old, and it was his first time at a big show.
Yeah.
And he was just like, what? Like, he was just losing it, because I was like, yeah, man, there's some unbelievable cosplay, there's unbelievable art, there's unbelievable creators here. And he was just like it was almost like overload. He was just he took all his babysitting money and just like blew it all on like so many different things, like comics and prints and all these things. Oh, what? It's Baby Yoda, but as a dog. I want that. Like, it was awesome.
It was fun watching him see things and then like leave the table to go explore another round of like a safe area that he felt good about, walking through. He come back with one more thing each time, and like thinking about his money, what he's gonna do. Yeah. I brought my daughter on the Sunday, and she did something very similar.
Yeah.
It's a feast for the eyes for sure.
Yes, definitely. But back to Becka and comics.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about what you're working on now, or what your most recent book is that you want to pitch?
Yeah, sure. So what I'm working on right now, it's almost done. So last year I released issue 1 of my horror sci-fi cosmic horror comic, The Wormhole Club Tragedy, which starts out with a murder, or is it a murder? Are you guys aware of spontaneous combustion?
I did it yesterday.
Oh.
But go on.
Really?
We try not to spontaneous combust. We try.
This is a very sus spontaneous combustion, and so internet theories go out of play, go crazy. There's a suspected woman that was there in the fire of this popular nightclub, and how rumors escalate online, and she becomes like a creepy pasta-ish character. And the protagonist, Mateo Meyer, who's a psychologist, is assessing a patient of his who was at said fire and is trying to unravel the mystery of this woman who's at the fire. Forticia Vortex is her name. And what is this entity? Who created her? Is there more information with the victim? And so on and so forth. And it starts out as a mystery, and then it carries on to issue 2. And we go more into the psychological aspects of said mystery.
Fun.
So, yeah. So I'm drawing inspiration from, like, if you go to back in the day when Blockbuster used to exist, and you go into the horror section, and then you see the cover art, or like the VHS style 80s horror, like Stephen King, or like psychics, or cosmic horror, but it's like super weird and trippy, but it's fun. So I just want to create something like that, and also have kind of a manga feel to it at the same time. So the artwork's in black and white, but it's in a North American comic book style. Right. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here, but issue 2 is almost done.
That's awesome. Tangents are good, by the way.
Yeah, and there's so much more I want to say about it without giving away spoilers. So, yeah.
Are you you're working in digitally, right?
Yes, the artwork is digital.
And for the black and white stuff, are you doing anything for your grayscale or like gray tone? Are you doing like fake screen tones, or are you doing just like gray paint? Do you know what I mean?
So the program I use my iPad Pro, and I use Procreate. So I use a lot of the gray tones from the paint section, and then I also use a combination of Clip Studio Paint and Adobe Photoshop to get other effects in there. So for the the little dots, gray tones, I use Clip Studio for that. Yeah, screen tone. Yes, because it's the most consistent on that program, and then everything else, like the final edits, I'll use Adobe Photoshop for that. So there is I can achieve the similar effect in Procreate, but it comes out streaky because I'm using just the pencil,
right?
As opposed to like the selection tool, and then boom, everything's in one tone, and it looks clean and crisp. Where it's not quite as crisp on Procreate. That's my little tiny complaint about the program, but it's otherwise fantastic, and it's work has been a lot faster with the program too. But I still draw traditionally, occasionally, like the cover art will be traditional for it. And I hope to, debut issue 2 a couple weeks from now. So either mid to late April. Ideally, I like to have it for the grand opening of the, hang on, I got it here. The Hero's Tale comic book shop. Do you guys know about?
No, you do. Okay.
I do.
Okay. So it's in Cambridge.
Oh.
And they're open now, but they're having their celebratory grand opening on April 15th. And I'll be there with Slam Press Tomes and Andy from AH Comics or AH, Andy S. He'll be there, and I'm not sure who else is there, but yeah, check out the shop when you can. It's awesome. The owner's awesome, Andrew. Yeah, it looks like it to be. I see great potential in that place, and yeah, check it out. It's on. I'll put it up one more time for the address. Whoops. There we go.
There you go on King Street. 634 King Street East in Cambridge, Ontario.
Awesome.
I met Andrew at Fan Expo, I think at Comic-Con on the Sunday as well. And he came by and dropped off his card, and we were talking about mural painting in the store and having books for sale there and that kind of stuff. And Chris, I never told you about that because it just didn't, we had so many things to catch up on, but he seemed like a really nice guy, and he seems very passionate about having a vibrant comic book store that celebrates local.
That's great.
Local creators. So another guy to definitely reach out to.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my friends from high school, well, we didn't get to know each other until after I graduated, but he works there too. So my buddy Chris was like, hey, there's this shop in Cambridge. You should come down. I work there. Like, okay. So that was cool reconnecting. And yeah, so I liked what I saw, and when you guys get a chance, like definitely check it out. And he's got an indie section he wants to build with looking for creator-owned comics, and he wants to promote that. And yeah, and
seems like
apparently, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it seems like he's gonna be an ally of independent creators. Yeah,
which is nice.
And sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just in the, I mean, it sounds like another great store for us in the area too, right? Which is awesome. I mean, I'm only 20 minutes away from Cambridge, which is pretty great.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where it's great to see those stores, the energy behind them kind of like start out that way. And then if they're keen on especially supporting independent comics and comic creators and local, that's awesome. Yeah, can't wait to check it out.
Yeah,
Very
there's
cool.
only a couple. Yeah, there was a couple of artists who started painting their murals in there too. So it was looking pretty cool. So, and I've got Mural Space book too, which I hope to get it painted before the grand opening event. So we'll see. But you may see something from the Wormhole Club tragedy on the walls there. So
Very cool.
Something cool and spacey. Yes, space
Very
setting.
Cool.
Yeah.
So should we dive into this issue?
Yes.
We should.
Okay, I'm just going to show off the this thing. This is the original art of Mike Mignola's X-Men Classic cover. So, for anyone who doesn't know this series, around 1985-86, Marvel started reprinting this particular era of X-Men comics for the next generation of readers. And that's a way a lot of us were able to get our hands on these issues through X-Men Classic, which were, again, reprints. And they had a new cover artist, usually Arthur Adams, for the first 20 or so issues. And by this point, by issue 63, we have an amazing run by a young Mike Mignola. And this is like, when I see this cover, I'm like, this is the comic I want to read. I want to read the X-Men in New York, in Central Park, in nighttime or winter, having to deal with Dracula, and maybe he really is there, maybe he isn't, running the gauntlet of some kind. Like, I absolutely want to read this comic. And I really hope this is what the book is going to be like. It's not at all, but I really, really want that book.
It's going to meet all of your expectations and more.
All my expectations. So here we go. Now, I guess just to sidestep a little more, Bill Sienkiewicz is a really, really super big deal in comics. Not necessarily at this point in time in 1982, but now he's viewed by many people to be maybe one of the best artists in the industry, maybe of all time. He's a lot of people's all-time favorite. People say he's unbelievably talented. Like he can kind of do anything. And at this point in time, he's still kind of finding his footing. And we really do see on the cover, like, something virtuosic and something that isn't exactly working. Like, it's somewhere in the middle where he's going for something different than what we've seen in X-Men comics before. His Wolverine doesn't really feel like Wolverine, but that image of Vampire Storm in the background in the color hold is like, that's awesome. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's energetic. It has all the things I want to know, but the black border on the left, it just doesn't necessarily read as, I'm not sure how to read all this stuff. But anyway, Sienkiewicz is a big deal. He comes into comics basically aping the style of Neil Adams and gets work at Marvel. And just before this, he's working on 2 titles. Moon Knight. He's the starting artist on Moon Knight for the first 20 issues or so. And he's also doing Fantastic Four. He's doing pencils, layouts for FF. A book he couldn't refuse. And although like Inker Joe Sinnott is doing a lot of the rendering, Sienkiewicz is doing the storytelling side of it. So he's kind of building his chops there. And we know Claremont is always looking for who's the next guy coming on X-Men. You know, he and editor Louise Simonson are looking for the next artist, whether they're going to lose Dave Cockrum for whatever reason, one way or the other, or for the next series of, for New Mutants or any other spin-off titles that have been happening. Claremont is always interacting with sort of some of the best up-and-coming artists in the biz. And Sienkiewicz has offered X-Men after this. He doesn't take it. He won't take it. Anyway, putting that out there.
What?
And I guess we can dive in. Sorry, Chris. Yeah.
Just quickly, just because for my own benefit, because so you mentioned one of the people regarded as one of the greats. What else would I might know him from, art wise?
Well,
after this,
Elektra Assassin.
Okay.
Is something he does. It's absolutely groundbreaking. His work on New Mutants, Demon Bear, is some pretty dramatic stuff. He does other New Mutant stuff with the character Legion. He works on Shadow. He works on, it's sort of like he does a lot of guest spots on things and covers and pinups. And I'm trying to think of like after maybe Moon Knight, I don't know if he ever has a long run on a series.
Okay. Someone
in the chat hopefully will correct me. But he just is one of the most original stylists, 80s through today.
Okay.
You should check out his channel and just watch. Like, he's the kind of guy that paints to make a lot of his work and mixes media and does things where he'll render something beautifully, add a chemical to the paper, ruin the entire thing, and then add something else to it. And what he originally drew comes out through the chemical, and he's a bit of a wizard.
Okay.
The Kingpin in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?
Yes.
That's his. Like, that's exactly right from his style. Okay. So he abstracts quite a bit, and he plays with shape. He'll even, if you read Elektra Assassin, he will like put fabric sometimes onto the paper, and they have to like photograph. He also is someone who works so outside of the box at times that Marvel and DC did not know how to pay him, because the role he was taking was not one of their traditional assembly line roles. He wasn't penciler, he wasn't inker, he wasn't colorist. He was like painting pages. Like, we don't know how to pay you for painting. And so he is a real trendsetter and
gotcha. Okay.
A very, very interesting figure. Next time you talk to Robert Haynes, get him going on Moon Knight and let him tell you a tale
about Moon Knight.
No, sorry, I mean about Sienkiewicz and like what the Moon Knight run means to him and what Sienkiewicz's role in the visual medium is. Yeah, there you go. I'm stuck on my words here.
All right.
We should get into this one.
Here we go.
So many questions.
Is Scotty going to strike out? That was my question.
Oh, forget old Scotty here.
Scotty.
Never let it be said that those mutant superheroes, the Uncanny X-Men, don't know how to make an entrance. In this case, into the Greenwich Village apartment of their friend, private investigator Misty Knight. Nightcrawler teleports, Kitty Pryde phases through the wall. Wolverine, Storm, and Colossus, however, resort to a more traditional method. Stan Lee presents Night Screams. My God.
Guten Abend, Misty. With guide in Yikes! Storm, that is not Misty.
She can see that, Colossus. Question is, who's the lady? And what is she doing here? And that's a great question.
I love how they just burst in.
Like, this is someone's apartment, and they come in costume, ready to fight. Wolverine's claws are out.
It's like, did they not call before ahead of time? Like, I don't know. It's like, even with, my friends here, and, like, I'm pretty lax with them, but, at least give them a heads up, like, hey, I'm outside your door, just dropping something off your mailbox, like a little something. But they just come in unannounced, like, in this state,
It is insane.
Just the claw, again, Wolverine's claws. It's like, are you prepared to fight Misty Knight? Like, what?
It's a theme. It's a constant theme, whether it's friend or foe. Wolverine will pop his claws.
He's ready to go.
This is
He's
one of those
like
things where you just have to, shrug your shoulders and recognize that they need a dynamic introduction to the issue, and there just isn't one in the plot. So they're just going to add fake mystery or fake intensity, whether it warrants it or not. And it definitely does not.
No. And this is also the first, you had that little preamble there, never let it be said. This is new.
Yes.
This is, now I don't think it sticks around much because it's kind of almost narration as opposed, but it's not that like Children of the Atom, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like that Stan Lee presents the X-Men,
Yeah, just such a bizarre opening.
So bizarre.
So Becca, do you want to read this new character?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. I live here. Who are you people? And what's the idea of busting into my house? You could scare a girl half to death. Okay, so no from the previous page. I love it that she doesn't scream. She's just like, okay, what? It's like she's alarmed, but she's also kind of accepting it. It's like, okay, yeah.
That's right. It's because as we learn later, she's one of New York's top fashion models, and they do not scare easily.
Yes, that's right.
Oh my god,
that explains a lot.
So Chris, would you read Kitty, and then
Sure.
Becca, do you want to do Storm as well?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. Gee, her face is awfully familiar. I wish I could place it.
I apologize for causing you undue alarm. My name is Storm. We are friends of Misty's. This is still her apartment, is it not? Oh, sorry. It's
okay.
Our apartment. I'm her roommate.
Harmony Young.
You know the lady, kid?
Boy, do I. She's one of the top fashion models in New York. And Anna, obviously, very dessert, enchanté, mademoiselle.
He?
That's the spirit, elf. Make nice with the lady. As for me, if everything's cool, I'm scrounging myself a brew.
He just goes to their fridge. He is the worst.
After showing his claws, it's like, here's my aggression. Okay, I'm just going to chill with a beer. All right.
I do like.
Oh, go ahead.
I do like the cartooning though, like the acting that Sienkiewicz renders here. Like, so he creates this in this panel. Nightcrawler, ever charming and gallant, like perfect. She's a little having that giggle, but it's in her body language too. It's not just added in after the fact. And Wolverine, pushing Colossus out. Get out of my way, you big oaf. It's built in. It's not just him walking away. It's actually get out of my way, Colossus.
It is.
I need a beer.
Yeah. The body language is great.
Yeah.
I also like too how we've all, at different times lived with roommates. And so the fact that there's like the friend of the roommates, like, I'm just going to eat the food in your fridge. No, you're not. Like, I'm just going to grab these beers. Totally cool with you. No, it's my beer. It's not cool.
To me, my ex-friends, says Jason Lowe. Hey, Jason, how are you?
Hey, Jason.
Have you read this one before, Jason? I'm curious. This issue is insane already. He's just popping by to say hi and hope you guys are doing well. Thank you. We hope you are doing well too. And Wolverine is about to pop open a beer. So you guys are simpatico on that one.
And already it's such a different with the style, the arts. I know you're mentioning the action too, but just like the style, it's like we're so used to the Cockrum because that's the current artist on the book. And so this is just like such a different take and it's very refreshing.
Right, like Wolverine already is well over 6 feet. Like this version of him, he's not small and stocky.
Yeah.
Contrary to the way Cockrum draws him, But this is the whole issue. I find that Sienkiewicz draws his heads small. It's just part of his style,
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Wednesday Night Reviews. Conrad, hope you're doing well, man. Glad you're here.
Hey, what's up? Yeah. Wednesday Night Reviews is awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. As ever,
we keep going.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Please. I went ahead. Sorry. As ever, Wolverine, the soul of tact and diplomacy. Diplomacy. I can English. Okay. Sorry. My apologies. We had a standing invitation from Misty to be her guest if the need ever arose. We have been out of touch recently. We did not know she was sharing the apartment. Why did you not call her? We do not mean to intrude, Miss Young. We'll be on our way. Hey, no problem. If that's okay with Misty, it's okay with me. I like having guys around, especially when they're cute.
What's she talking about? Colossus isn't cute. Oh, kitty.
You've got a date with your folks this evening, kiddo, remember? That's why we're here. And you sure can't meet them dressed like that.
Oh my gosh! I lost track of the time. I'll change right away. Aurora, you're coming with me, aren't you?
Kitten, you brought appropriate clothes. I did not. I have nothing to wear. Leave that to me. Harmony, we may be the same height, but hardly the same size. Details. Let's see. Where to begin?
Wow!
The closet's the ultimate fantasy.
It does feel like a boy telling a girl's story. You know what I mean? Like this idea of,
right.
You gotta go get dressed.
Like,
we have to play Barbie.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not the same size of you. Oh, no problem. I got you. It's like, no, that's not how it works, but okay. No.
Unstable molecule.
That's not how clothes work, unless if it's an elastic waistband or something. Like, no. Just, I'm sorry. Okay. I love your hair, Aurora. The color and texture. I wish I could make mine look like that.
Oh, Aurora, Harmony, can I wear this, please? Oh, and this, and this, and this.
Downstairs, Wolverine echoes Storm's silent sigh and reaches for another beer.
Would you like to try some makeup, Aurora? You know, this is more fun than playing with dolls.
Jeez.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yes, this is written by. Oh.
Yep, it is. It really is.
No.
And sometimes these things are dated in a way that's charming, and sometimes not. And this is one of those times.
And also the assumption that every girl likes to play with Barbies.
Oh yeah.
Personally, I have a strong hatred for dolls, but that's another.
You do?
That's another topic for another. I do. But that's a topic for another time.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Eventually, a slow 6-pack later.
Magnificent. Do you mean it, Kurt? Really?
Worth the wait, kid. And that's no lie.
Yeah. Let's get dressed up while the boys wait.
Yep, drinking beer.
100% wins.
Soon after that, Kitty and Aurora are on their way, strolling happily through the fog-shrouded village in search of a taxi. The cares and worries of recent days pushed aside for the moment by the simple joy of being alive. Remaking this comic right now, this issue starts with a splash page of Kitty and Aurora walking through Greenwich Village with like fog. And do a full street scene. Give me the architecture, make it macabre and creepy, have them moving through the fog. Like that's the opening. Forget the entire scene in the apartment. Like we don't need any of that.
No.
But I want to see the picture of them. This last panel, I want that as a splash page with details of that street. Like do some work.
Like
the only building
trying on. Sorry.
Yeah, it really it's not not strong. Bill Sienkiewicz, come on, you beginner.
Yeah. Yeah, cut out the clothes scene completely.
Totally.
Like, come on.
Yeah. All right, Chris, want to move to the next?
Here we go. Oh, it's a couple of things. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. How appropriate with the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Yeah.
I've only heard good things.
I used to love
Same.
these ads because they looked so different than the Marvel comics.
The
style of drawing was so, I don't know, it was just styled very differently. And I bet you the person who drew this is someone we know the name of, but I don't know who it is.
Totally.
But it feels like it, right out of ElfQuest, or even like the Ninja Turtle guys. Like, it just doesn't feel so far off from that world of underground comics.
Yeah, it definitely has that vibe going on for sure. A stark contrast with the
Even the Bubblegum ad looks kind of interesting, in a very different cartooning happening there, but just all neat to see kind of back to back to back. But off to Rio Diablo.
That's right.
This is Rio Diablo, a remote stretch of the New Mexico desert that Alex Summers, once an X-Men, has made his home, and where his brother Scott has come to visit. Who do you guys want to be? Chris, you want to just you and me be Havoc and Cyclops?
We can do that.
There you go. So I'll do Psych, you do Alex?
Sure.
Given that I'm your elder.
That's true. That's true. You should also do Corsair then too. Daddy.
Don't start.
All right, I won't call you Daddy. That's straight. We'll strike that from the record.
Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry to hear about Professor Xavier Scott.
We tried everything to bring him out of his catatonic state. Out of his catatonic trance, and to learn what caused it. But nothing's worked. And then there's Dad.
Yeah. And what do you say when your father pops up after 20 years? That reunion must have been rough for you, Scott. You know, at least when I was adopted, I had surrogate parents to love who loved me. You had nothing because you're a loser, Scott. You had nothing to love I had.
I survived then and now.
Life is more than simple survival.
Perhaps, you asshole. Speaking of survival, have you been practicing the use of your powers as Havoc?
Sure have, big brother.
Prove it. Scott Summers' optic blast punched a rock into the darkening sky.
How's that?
At the apogee of its climb, Alex fires a cosmic energy starbolt that shatters it. Not bad.
You pulverize the pieces into dust. All that power, Scotty. With only your ruby quartz glasses to hold it in check, and no love from no adults or parents. I'm not sure I could handle that kind of pressure or responsibility. Good thing I had loving parents when I was a kid.
You do fine, Alex. It's also interesting to see like this. Like, there is no character for Alex yet.
No,
there is no personality. He's just there as a foil for Scott. But, he becomes, I don't know, a lot of people really like him around the 200s when they become the Outback X-Men. He's very, very angstful or angst-rid, and he gets an edge to him. He's a lot more fun. Soon, back at the cabin, Alex shares with Lorna Dane, also a former X-Men, Polaris, mutant mistress of magnetism.
We're home, my love.
Can I read her?
Please do.
Okay. About time. Washed up, you two, and join your dad at the table. I'll serve dinner. If you don't like it, tough.
Okay, just a couple things. Just for anyone out there. Becca, you asked before we started, not to read any of the mails. Mm-hmm. So I just want that out there. Like, you're welcome to do whatever character you want. I respect all your choices. I don't want it to seem like you're being relegated to reading only parts of women and, who are washing dishes, prepping dinner, and playing with fashion, like playing dress up. It's like, it's a particularly misogynistic issue so far. And I just want that out there. Anyway, now that's all being said.
No, just a disclaimer. I requested just to read parts of the women. My voice hasn't been that great lately. I just don't I'm just worried about distorting it too much. So that's the only reason why. But I'm having so much fun, you guys. So
Okay. All good.
Yeah.
All good.
Yeah. So it's cool. It's cool.
Okay.
Corsair is awesome. I love how he's wearing his headband.
Yeah.
I think he's just super, super awesome looking dude. And I cannot wait to get an action figure of this guy. Anyway. Superb. My compliments to the chef.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. But if you think I'm good, taste Alex's cooking.
It's just my way of getting out of doing the dishes.
Dad, what are your plans? Will you stay? For a while, Scott. I'm glad to see you and Alex, but not Polaris. We got a lot of catching up to do, but I've been away too long. I feel so out of place on Earth. 20 years behind the times, yet light years ahead of them. See how cosmic I am?
Ooh.
I love that pose, by the way. That's just so like I don't know what the word to describe it. I just love it.
It is definitely not expected.
I also
it doesn't fit in the panel either. Like,
no, that's kind of
this
cool.
is
It's kind of coming
where
out.
like the colorist is not doing him any favors, Sienkiewicz any favors, because if you put Scott in a different colored shirt, it will make Corsair's the clarity of Corsair's body, like it'll be clearer. So they should have given Scott something different,
like green or something like that.
Yeah,
that would make the red pop even more.
Absolutely.
I like how he's kind of like also, well, it's like, we stayed, Dad. It's like, well, I've been away for 20 years, and well, there's not enough baseball catch-up games we can play to make me want to stay on this planet. So I think I need to be on my way.
When you leave, what about us? Would you want us to come with you? Scott, Alex, my dear boys. I don't know.
Get on the back. So great. Just like
this is also
Dad.
Such a Claremont trope of keep like juggling multiple storylines. You know, he'll give 2 pages to one thing and then go back to the main plot. There's always this bouncing back between what all the other characters in the orbit of the X-Men are doing. So it's a pretty common thing. I'm surprised they couldn't make it go to the end of the page though. Like it's nicer for the reading experience, like at least end the page. But
cut back, eh? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're right too about like Havoc and Polaris just like as characters who kind of show up on these odd times throughout the run that we've looked at. It's like what is the point of them? Like it's really really waiting to establish them. I think it was about 2 issues ago when Corsair and Cyclops like show up at their door. They're literally in the middle of the desert on their own little scientific experiment. There's nobody around. Like, oh, a knock at the door. I wonder who that could be. I'm like, there's no one around. It can't be good. Like, it's not like. So it's interesting because they just kind of use them occasionally. Sometimes they're under mind control, and so they use their power sets to fight them. But generally speaking, yeah, like what is the purpose of these 2 characters?
They really seem to be just there for Claremont to have as like extra fodder.
I guess.
They don't have any personality yet, so we'll see if that. We'll see when it changes. And like you think about how they are in the cartoon, they show up already on X Factor, right? That's like their introduction. Remind me, is Polaris there on X Factor?
I think so. Does she have the green hair and the green lips?
I don't remember who's on the team besides
Strong Guy.
Yeah, this
Wolfsbane?
Sure.
Am I getting my X Factor correct here?
Yeah, you might be nailing it. Is Jamie
Madrox
there too?
Madrox, yeah. Where's Jason Lowe? Need him. Jason Lowe!
Is Iceman on that team too?
Tell us who's on the X Factor.
Is Quicksilver on that team? In that episode? Or Iceman? I feel like one of those guys is there.
Okay.
If not both. Anyway. Well, I'll have to watch that one later. But at least they were going for something at that point. But at this point, those characters have nothing in the tank at all. New York.
You were in a circus? Neat.
Lovely lady, I was a star. Eh? The phone. It's not mine, but I will pick it up. Also super rude. Hi guys, just me checking in. I'm fine. My folks are okay. Can I speak to Aurora? She isn't here, Kitty. Isn't she with you?
Something
I do
wrong?
love the drawing of Kitty though. I love that she's like on the floor with her feet in the air against the wall. Like I feel like I've seen people do that. I don't know. I think it's cute.
And
Anyway,
meanwhile, tossing a teddy bear in the air.
right.
They love going back. They love it's Kitty is 12 and then she's 18. You're like, no. Like,
Yeah, they do keep
please be
moving her around.
consistent with this character. Yeah.
Something wrong?
I'm not sure. Kitty says Aurora left hours ago, that she was returning directly to the apartment. But if she isn't here, then where is she? Why hasn't she telephoned? What could have happened to her?
And then cut away to this really great panel. Like
Yeah.
really well done. One of the few like standout panels to me in this issue of Storm like unconscious in an alleyway with some gashes in her neck. I wonder what happened. And the coloring on her suggests like she's a corpse kind of,
Drained.
Which is
perhaps.
Yeah.
And it's alarming because Storm, at least from my perspective, like she's one of the most powerful X-Men. So it's like
Totally.
what got her, which makes it
Totally.
terrifying, right from the get-go with just this panel set up.
Absolutely.
Then it moves us to St. Vincent's Hospital. And here we also have this really fun trope of Claremont where characters who are basically extras, they keep getting named. Like Claremont always writes first names for characters that are just walking in for one panel. And we kind of have gathered a huge army of these characters over the last year where he's every goon gets a first name, every bus driver gets a name, and this is no different. Heads up, people, we've got a hot one. Female, black, mid-20s, I think. An assault, maybe worse. It's a throat wound, Doc. A bad one. There's damage to the jugular. The bleeding's under control, but her pressure's way down. She lost a lot of blood before we reached her.
Type and cross-match her fast.
She's alive.
Barely. Albeit, it'll be touch and go whether she survives the night.
Get you, Doc. Any chance of a statement?
Don't count on it, Phil. Phil, old buddy, old pal. It's a miracle the lady isn't dead on arrival.
Give me a hand, Lou. Dr. Chara wants her in Bay 4.
It says O'Hara. But you got hockey on your brain.
Yeah.
Chara, like,
Dr.
Zdeno Chara.
Dr.
It's because you're
Zdeno
reading-
Chara wants her in Bay 4.
You're reading on the screen, so it's like
Yeah.
so small, right?
O'Hara.
But yeah, it's O'Hara. From the victim's wallet, the police gained her New York address. A phone call is made, and very soon after that, two of her friends arrive.
Become tovarish.
I'm cool as ice, Petey. I won't do a flaming thing till they find whoever did this to Aurora.
Again, ready to pop his claws in an ER.
Yes.
It could be like any situation. He's just ready to pop his claws. It could be like a kid's swimming class. Like for newborn babies, but the pop his claws.
Did they go home and get that phone call?
Right. How does that work?
And isn't the mansion destroyed the last time we were?
And isn't Charles comatose? So who's
He is.
answering
So
that phone?
they went home. They got the phone call. They got changed, and they got a car,
It went back.
probably the Rolls Royce, and came back.
Yeah.
But why? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Excuse me. My name's Logan. We were called about a friend of ours, Aurora. How is she?
I'm Dr. O'Hara. I'm handling your case. She's alive, Mr. Logan, but don't ask me how. I even think she'll pull through.
What happened?
Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. Sorry. But don't ask me how I. Oh, that is a period. Sorry. Okay, it's reading from the screen.
What happened?
The police theorize a mugging, possibly by a maniac. She wasn't robbed or molested. Her throat was slashed. The damage turned out to look far worse than it actually was. There was some blood loss, but nothing critical. She regained consciousness a while ago and gave the police a statement. We wanted to give her a whole blood transfusion, but we couldn't match her type. Her test produced some extraordinary results. I've never seen anything like them. I'd like to investigate further.
The mutant genes that give us our powers also make our blood unique. If this doc keeps poking about, she'll realize what Roro is, possibly who she is. The X-Men, no cover will be blown. I'm probably going to have to kill her.
Yep.
Regardless, I like to keep Aurora here for a few days for observation, just in case. She suffered a severe trauma, physically and psychologically. She doesn't even remember what happened or who attacked her. I've been talking with her. She seems a strong woman in spirit and in flesh. With help from her friends, with luck, she should recover completely. Hey! What the blazes are you doing? Climb back into bed this instant. Aurora. Oh, sorry. Peter, Logan, I feel very foolish, after all we've been through, to fall prey to a common mugger. I do not mean to cause you trouble, Dr. O'Hara, but I really feel much better. If you want to leave, I can't stop you, but I think you're making a mistake. I cannot stay. That risks compromising the X-Men. Yet, I feel strangely safe here. But why? Why should I suddenly fear the night? And the fog? Are those eyes? No, just my imagination. Ah, the night. I love it so. I appreciate your concern, Dr. O'Hara. But I would rather return home. Suit yourself. I'll prepare your release forms. Suspicious side eye.
What's the stink eye that O'Hara's giving her?
It's severe.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, I think Sienkiewicz is, again, trying to do some acting with his characters, or trying to have them each emote something. Like, there's some pretty strong acting with all the extras in the hallway in the hospital. Like, one of those nurses is like, if you saw a person taking this pose in real life, you thought they'd either pooped their pants or their back had gone out. Everyone is reacting really strange. Like Wolverine with his hands tucked in his back pockets. Not a usual thing you see in a comic book when a character's walking down a hall. It's like a subtle thing you'd see people do in real life. And I think Sienkiewicz is trying. You know, I listened to a couple of interviews with him today, and one he was saying that he was trying to make the leap from drawing for film and television and trying to change it to drawing for the stage. Like, the way that actors who act on TV, they know they have a camera close by, so it can catch the subtleties. But when you act on stage, you have to exaggerate so the person in the back row can see what you're doing with your face and your body. And he said he was trying to bring that into his comic book art, where, the performances by all the characters were more exaggerated and more dynamic, because it was something he was learning as he was going. I think this is a good example of him exaggerating everything to try and communicate something. It just doesn't always work, but I see what he's trying.
I appreciate that he didn't give her like a standard pretty face, like Frozen, that at least it's an expression, that he's going for.
And that second last panel, like, he put a lot of drawing into that. There's a lot there. There's a lot of lines that Wiacek is like inking with a brush, real subtle stuff. But it's interesting. There's something to look at for sure. Want to flip that one, Chris, if you can?
Here we go.
Thank you. We're going to see something really stand out, odd, and interesting and gorgeous. At the apartment, Aurora is quickly put to bed in Misty's room.
Will you stop mothering me? All of you. I'm fine. Really. I shall be better after a good night's sleep.
Guten Tag, then, Windrider. Sleep tight. We'll be outside if you need us. Just call.
I shall.
Can I correct your German, Chris?
Guten Nacht. What?
Yeah. It's good.
What'd I say?
I don't know. Maybe I heard it wrong. We're good.
You know.
Eyes close, eyes open. Around her is darkness and silence. She can hear the faint murmur of her friends' voices, so near yet so far away. Surprisingly, she finds herself feeling totally alone. That frightens her. She tosses, turns, trying in vain to make herself comfortable. As the night deepens, her senses sharpen, becoming unbearably acute. A voice calls to her. She ignores it. For as long as she is able. Then, as if in a dream, praying this is a dream, she rises from her bed.
I love
And
it,
is this
kiddo.
drawing unlike anything else we've ever seen?
Yeah, in this comic, 100%.
So this is who Sienkiewicz turns into. He is able to tap into doing more of that in everything that he does. The texture is unusual for comics. Like, is this a photocopy of a photograph that he's then drawn over top of? Like, I don't know how a person makes these marks in a comic book. And he is like that alchemist that is able to do this on a regular basis within about 2 years from now. And he will abstract form. So he gets to play with shape and texture and line in a way that no one else in comics was. And everyone who does anything like this is kind of like an imitator of his ingenuity. But yeah, I don't know what that is. Like, I want to see a whole comic book of that art. You know, not just one panel, unfortunately.
It's beautiful.
It is. It's like, it's the best drawing in the book.
Mm-hmm. Everything's in her eyes and her expression, right? Like all of it.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Her hand trembles as she reaches for the bay window. Not with fear, but with anticipation and a desire beyond her wildest imaginings.
Enter freely and of your own will.
Her blood burns white-hot within her, and as the fog swirls around her, enshrouding her, caressing her, she smiles with a wanton, inhuman, supernatural joy. I wish there were hints of this from the beginning of the issue. I feel like those first, however many, 8 pages or so, were like a preamble that was from another genre. Like, we needed, like I said, that splash page where in the fog there is something there from page 1. I want a hint that we're not in the normal world from the very beginning. Yeah. I kind of wish it was like X-Men in a Dracula comic instead of Dracula in an X-Men comic.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is like a Halloween episode, right?
Yeah.
Like the camera angles are different. The soundtrack should be different. It's like a whole different experience. Or should be.
Yeah, it takes a while.
Could be.
It takes a while to get to the setup for sure.
Yeah.
When we get to the Dracula. When I was reading this ahead of time, I'm like, okay, what is this the correct comic? Like, when's Dracula come? You know, it wasn't until like, you know, until she gets bitten in the neck, you know, we get hints of it, but then it just, yeah. It's definitely a clash of tones for sure in this issue, in my opinion.
Agreed. The weekend passes, and late Sunday afternoon.
Hi guys, I'm home. Did you miss me? Guys, Kurt, Peter, Logan, what's wrong? Where's Aurora?
In Misty's room kitchen.
She is not well.
What does that mean? Is she sick? Tell me. I knew I should have phoned to make sure things were okay, but I was having such a good time. Logan, tell me, please.
She was attacked Friday night, kiddo. We thought she was doing okay, but she isn't getting any better. We don't know why, and she won't let us call a doctor or take her to the hospital.
Is she?
I don't know, darling. But she doesn't want to go on living.
No.
I hope you can help her, kitty. We've tried. We've now given up.
We're now just waiting for her to die. Oh. Aurora?
The curtains, child. Close them. I beg you. The sunlight hurts. This is me every morning when there's sun.
This is an accurate representation of Becca.
When my dog opens the shutters and I'm like, no, it's too early for this.
I do love that last panel though. As well. I mean, again, just
Yes.
like, she looks terrible. It's great.
Yeah. Looks like a different person, truthfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's by the way, that's my first experience with Willy Wonka, is that picture.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, that's why I've
The
always hated
jumping
Willy.
disc author.
I've always hated Willy Wonka.
Well, I don't have to tell you, man.
Yep. Moving on.
She looks awful. So weak and pale. So old. She reminds me of Grandma when she was sick that last time.
It's like for the last time.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Bye-bye, Grandma.
bye before Wolverine killed her. looks like can't leave you on your own for even a minute. How's it going, Aurora? How do you feel?
Tired, kitten, but I'll recover. Oh, wait. Okay, sorry. The others are terribly worried. Me too.
Oh, okay. Here. Oh, I think you had to say the bottom thing. I cannot remember that first panel.
Oh, sorry. Wow.
It's
how did
hidden
I-
in her
sorry.
bed sheets.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I cannot remember ever being ill before, but I suppose there's a first time for everything. Yeah, the colorist, I have issues. Like,
Yes.
there's too much of the same thing, like not much to make things pop or to make.
There's also a ton of words on this page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like you think about the standard, just as a rough number, somewhere between 5 and 8 panels, on or even 4 to 8 panels on like a typical 1982 Marvel page. And you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is, it makes it clunky and harder to read. But anyway, I digress.
The others are terribly worried. Me too.
There is no need.
I can see that. And you're wearing a lovely scarf. It's pure silk. Is it Harmony's?
This? No. It is mine. A gift from an admirer. But how can that be? He's a figment of my imagination, a phantom who haunts my dreams.
First of all, I love that Dracula gives out scarves with a D on it. Okay, that is, and it's D for dope, is what he says. Okay, it's like that story. Do you ever hear that story about like Derek Jeter and like he was like
No.
Okay, so Derek Jeter, when he was playing shortstop for the New York Yankees, was like one of New York's like most eligible bachelors. Like
Sure.
He was throughout his entire playing career, didn't really have any kind of serious relationship, or at least it seemed publicly, right? And so the joke with Derek Jeter was that because he was like one of New York's like most eligible bachelors and captain of the Yankees and blah 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 blah, if he had a relationship with you or like a one night stand or whatever, he would send a gift basket. So he would like. It was known that if you like got with Derek Jeter, there was a gift basket in it. This is such a strange thing when you think about it. And I don't know, because he felt like, thank you. Like, I don't know what the thought was. I don't know where that came from, but he was like, this kind of reminds you of that, where it's like, take this scarf. It's got my name on it.
So, Chris, did you get a gift basket from
I
Derek
did.
Jeter
No,
circa 2001?
What I'm saying is that I didn't get one that one time, and it pissed me off.
Sorry, dude. We didn't mean to bring up a sore spot.
Sorry thanks for making me relive, hard memories. Aurora, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you.
That's all. Ow!
What's the matter?
Nothing. I am very tired.
The lamplight flashed on. The lamplight flashed on my Star of David, and Aurora flinched. Aversion to sunlight, to religious artifacts, anemia, dreams. This is ridiculous. What am I thinking? Aurora?
Later, child. I am very tired.
But whoa!
I said, leave me be.
Kitty, I heard.
No problem, Logan. Hey, where was Aurora injured?
The kid's crying. Throat wound. Slashed across the jugular, but not deeply enough to puncture the vein. Why?
Just asking. Gotta run errands. See you later.
What in the blazes was that about? Does the kid suspect she's a vampire or what? Why wouldn't she tell one of her best friends and only protectors, someone who can help with this? Why would this child pretend that she's going to handle a vampire all on her own?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I'm really, as someone of Jewish heritage, I'm fascinated by the intersection of the Jewish faith and practice and Jewish imagery and Dracula, and like, how do these two things exist at the same time? I have to grapple with this. Like, this is something complicated for me. So I'm interested to explore this more over the next weeks to figure it out. Anyway, with the night comes a fog to blanket Greenwich Village, one that seems to almost alive as it swirls through the eerily deserted streets to concentrate about a certain brownstone off Washington Square. Inside, Aurora stirs, rises, and once more throws open the windows to admit her lover. He does not keep her waiting. Aurora, your name means beauty. Through me, Wind Rider, that beauty shall remain unchanged till the end of time. Through me, you shall have the immortality a goddess deserves. Do you wish this?
Yes.
Good. Come to me, woman. Yield to my dread embrace. Join your blood and life and soul to mine as, with a kiss, I make you the bride of the Prince of Darkness, Dracula.
Why is Dracula in New York? Doesn't matter.
And hello there, toying. Hello there, toying around. I hope you're
Hello.
good. As I watched your stream last night, not for 1 minute, but 2, 3, 4, 5.
Nice.
Happy belated birthday, Kevin, if I haven't told you enough times. There you go. Kevin from Toying Around. Wonderful. Glad you're here. I really like that picture of Dracula. So there,
This one.
just to give some context quickly, now that he's here, finally, not Kevin, but Dracula.
Sure.
There was a ban because of the comics code. There was a ban on things on monsters in mainstream comics in America.
Oh, really?
In the end of the 50s through 60s and such. And you couldn't have a vampire. You couldn't use the word vampire. You couldn't have mummies. You couldn't have all sorts of things, which is one of the reasons that Marvel was doing like monster, like space monster comics. At the early 60s, when they turned into Marvel from Atlas, they were basically a monster mag, or it was a monster comic book publisher, but they were doing like weird cosmic monsters. They couldn't do creepy and terrifying monsters because it wouldn't have passed the code. And then as Marvel shifts into superheroes, and as the decades go by, finally the Comics Code Authority changes the outline as to what is allowed and what's not allowed. And when they open up some of the vocab that you can do, Marvel instantly puts out a comic with Dracula, who is public domain. So there was a comic book called Tomb of Dracula around early 1970s. And the artist Gene Colan, who started that series when he pitched it, Dracula is based on Jack Palance. And
Really?
I think you can
From
see
City
Jack
Slickers?
Palance in this. Like, you can see that face, that nose, the high cheekbones. It feels like that Sienkiewicz is pulling from Jack Palance and from Gene Colan for this drawing. Anyway, so that's the world in which Dracula exists in Marvel. It goes for a long time, the bulk of the 70s that series runs, and then eventually gets canceled. Jim Shooter hates it, so he cancels it. And this is sort of an attempt to bring Dracula into the main Marvel continuity, because he was kind of in his own pocket narrative, and this is like let's get him in there with the top selling book at Marvel.
And so when does Blade show up as a character?
In Tomb of Dracula.
Okay.
In the previous decade. And have you seen that version of Blade, Chris?
I can't. No, tell me.
He has like yellow
he looks exactly
sunglasses.
He looks exactly Wesley Snipes.
No, he does
Well,
not.
then I don't want it.
Did either of you ever watch The Venture Brothers?
Yeah,
Some of it. Yeah.
So there is a 70s Blade knockoff character. I believe his name is Jefferson Twilight.
Okay.
And forgive me if I get it wrong. It was just such a perfect blaxploitation vampire character. And that's a really good idea of what Blade looked like. So he wore like a brown leather jacket, green pants, and maybe like, brown action boots. And he had a bandolier with wooden stakes in it. And then like orange or yellowish goggles.
Okay.
Like a plastic kind of sports goggles. And he had no facial hair. And like, a nice tight fro. And he was, I think, looked actually pretty cool. It's a version of Blade I would rather draw than the modern one. But anyway, there you go. So let's move that page forward and continue with Dracula and Storm. She's looking good all of a sudden.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She's so much better. And then Kitty does this insane thing.
Yeah. Leave her alone, monster.
Who dares? The child?
I may be a kid buster, but I've helped trash nastier villains than you. I'm an X-Man, and we take care of our own. Beat it, creep, or suffer the consequences.
I love how she's got this, this Van Helsing hat.
Van Helsing,
Mhm.
yeah.
We see. Have you both watched Bram Stoker's, the Coppola's telling of Bram Stoker's?
Yeah.
Does Anthony Hopkins wear this kind of hat too?
Does he have a floppy hat? He might.
I don't remember terribly well.
No, me neither. Definitely Hugh Jackman wears it in the ridiculous Van Helsing movie.
Yes.
Sure.
I remember him wearing the hat more than the
Yeah,
other
well,
one. Yeah.
they had to cover up the ridiculous wig he was wearing, right? Like you don't
Yeah.
want to, when an actor wears such fake long hair, you don't want to spend a lot of time showing the top of their head because it looks like a giant fake squirrel's nest.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering where this version of Van Helsing with the droopy hat is like why it's famous.
Like Adventurer Van Helsing.
Does Peter Cushing also play a version of Van Helsing? Like I'm talking about Grand Moff Tarkin, who also plays Sherlock Holmes. I believe he played a version of Van Helsing in Britain.
The Hammer films.
Yeah, I haven't looked it up
Christopher
though,
Lee.
but
Yeah.
so I'm wondering where the droopy hat,
Where it comes
why it's famous, because the iconography is absolutely clear by 1982. Like we're supposed to see this and go, oh, Van Helsing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it could be.
Conrad says he did have the hat.
And when he says
Thank you, Connor.
I think Conrad is referring to
Conrad. Sorry.
Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
But of course, this comic is well before that movie was made. And speaking of which, Mike Mignola draws the adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. There's an amazing trade paperback or graphic novel of that film done by Mignola, who worked on the production too. He talked to Coppola quite a bit during the making of that movie. Anyway, the cross. Wait. The very presence of that holy object should be an anathema to me. And nobody reading this comic book knows what the word anathema means, but I do.
I think they're a band.
Absolutely no effect. Little fool. You have outsmarted yourself. The cross has no power over such as I, if the wielder does not believe in it. You are no Christian, but a Hebrew, which I gotta say is inaccurate because Hebrew refers to people in the biblical time. At that point, in his era, even in the 14th century, they would have been called Jewish, not Hebrew. But anyway, Hebrew is an ancient term, not a modern European one. Cushing had a bowler hat, says Conrad.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, but then I wonder, there's got to be a version of it out there. We shall see. The
Thank you,
speed and
Conrad.
violence of Dracula's attack catch Kitty by surprise, so much so that she's unable to phase out of his grasp. But then, as he lunges for her throat...
Huh? His hand. It's burning. Around my neck, my silver star of David. That's what stopped him. Thank God. Aurora, he's on the ropes. We've got our chance. Let's get out of... Oof.
None may harm my lord, kitten. Not even you. Do not follow. Do not try to save me. You cannot. And if you try, you will merely walk before your time through the gates of death. Forget me, child, and pray that we never meet again.
Aurora! Gadia.
We're here to fight, kiddo. What gives?
Kitty, what's the matter? Are you all right? Where's Aurora?
Gone. He took her. Dracula.
Calm down, kitten. Start from the beginning. Tell us everything.
And in a choked, halted voice, she does so.
I kept things to myself because I didn't think you believed me. I didn't completely believe it myself until I saw him.
Rose had a pretty rough weekend, Punkin. You sure she didn't just flip out?
How do you explain this amazing, beautiful gift basket of a scarf? Is it hers?
Okay, it belongs to Harmony or Misty.
Do not scoff, Wolverine. Kitty is no child. I trust her word as I would my own, or yours. Also, my friend, in my homeland Bavaria, we have learned from bitter experience not to take vampires, especially Dracula, lightly.
So Dracula is real.
Yeah.
Like they have to just, like, Wolverine should be like, I smell something not right.
Yeah.
Like, I have hypersenses.
Right.
I heard that conversation,
I love
B,
when Wolverine has hypersenses until he doesn't have hypersenses.
Also, where is Misty Knight? Like
Not
would you
yet.
if Dracula takes out Storm, again, emphasis on one of those most powerful X-Men. Like, wait, we're not doubting that Misty Knight can take care of herself, but
sure.
I would start to worry at this point. You know,
Right.
we have
There's
not
a
seen
person
her.
missing from this apartment that is so massive that they can't even hear when Dracula arrives.
No.
Yeah, and then it's like, how many other people has he gone after at this point? You know, it's just
Totally.
I have questions.
So I tried to figure out where Misty Knight was by looking to see what other series that
Like
she's in at
publication
this
history.
time.
What's going on?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
at this moment in time, she, of course, does regularly appear in Heroes for Hire, Power Man and Iron Fist.
Mhm.
And they're having an adventure in another part of the world at this moment in time. They're actually, I think this month they're dealing with Sabretooth and the Constrictor. There's just some
Okay.
fighting going on, but the Daughters of the Dragon, as they are known, Colleen Wing and Misty Knight, are not anywhere specific. They're just absent from the apartment.
Okay.
Or at least Misty is.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
And
crazy.
her gun's not there either.
No, we saw when
okay.
she used to appear in this series often. She was Jean Grey's roommate, I think.
Yeah.
Way back,
Yeah.
and she often, like, when things would pop up, she was so quick to pull a gun.
Just like how Wolverine was pop his claws, it was like an ongoing joke. Every panel would be like, Misty just pulls a gun. You're like, whoa, Misty, just chill out for a second.
They'd be out for dinner, and like something happens in the street, and she's got that revolver out in 2 seconds. So it was kind of funny, but yeah. But no, I love it if she was here now, especially with some silver bullets.
Exactly.
So I think the last one to speak was
it was Nightcrawler.
Okay.
Even if I am fantasizing, even Aurora's only sick, as you say. We can't let her fly away like this. We have to find her and help her before it's too late.
No argument there, but it won't be easy picking up Aurora's scent out of the atmospheric soup surrounding this city. That'll tax even my tracking abilities to the limit. Still, what's life without a little challenge, huh? So hold on, Wolverine, are you in or are you out?
Yeah, you've given up, right? You've already given up once this issue. Are you just giving up again, bud? Yeah.
A couple of hours later, a a couple of miles uptown.
I know we're in Central Park, but where are we?
Keep your voice down, kid. This is business. To our right is Belvedere Lake and the Great Lawn. Up ahead is Belvedere Castle. That's where Storm is.
Then let's go.
Hold it. Something screwy. It's too quiet, too still. On your toes, troops. We're not alone. Quite true, humans. Your friend is mine, X-Men. She is lost to you forever. By coming to her rescue, you have merely sealed your own dooms. Behold! From one side, come rats. From the other, wild dogs. Impossibly large, incredibly vicious, and hungry for blood as their undead master. But as they attack, so do the X-Men, even in the lamest pose Nightcrawler has ever taken.
We have heard such threats before, vampire, but we still live.
Your arrogance rivals your stupidity, mortal. None may lay hands on the Lord of Darkness. And I guess he punches Nightcrawler in the head,
Yeah.
but we don't see a punch. We just see them kind of, in this awkward pose. Like this should be from the other angle, right? Or he should throw a left-handed punch. So we get to see it go across Nightcrawler's face. That's just a bad choice. I don't know. Maybe I'm fussy, but it doesn't look good. Back off, Bowser. How you doing, Colossus?
I'm well, Tovarish. While I remain in my armored form, these animals pose no danger to me. The crawler is stunned but conscious. I shall protect him until he recovers. Is this the best our folk can do?
I kind of hope so, but I kind of doubt it. Please, 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 put your hand on my bum.
Kitty, grab my butt. Duh.
Like
Give me that extra lift.
full palm. Like that's it. And you know what? Where's your thumb, bub? Give me the taint ball special. Let's try and end this quick. Set me up with a fastball special.
That looks like that would be a challenge on RuPaul's Drag Race. This whole setup right here.
It's the bowling ball thumb hole. Like in a smooth, fluid, almost lubricated motion, Colossus scoops up his fellow mutant and heaves him at Dracula. But at the last instant, the vampire lord transforms himself into mist, laughing as Wolverine sails helplessly through him, claws cutting empty air. And when the X-Men lands, the dogs are waiting.
You should have stayed as a scrap of fog demon. As a man, I can strike you.
And this panel's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Colossus' punch looks real and heavy and weighty.
Yeah.
The action lines are great. The fact that Dracula can just stand there and take it.
Yeah, I totally want to see there's a lot. I mean, we kind of making jokes at the comic. I want to see Dracula and X-Men throw down. It's a ton of fun.
I would love it if he separated them.
Right.
You make them come into the park. Because he also is in his power set, he can mess with your mind with illusions. Make each of them go a different way. Give me a hedge maze or something where they're getting separated, and then he has to deal with each one. And whatever strength they have, he has the same strength.
Mm-hmm.
He can vanish and reappear somewhere else. He is super strong and can withstand an attack from a full frontal attack from Colossus. He has sharp claws. He has hypersenses. He can deal with Wolverine. I'm interested in all that. But I want to see it really played out over 8 pages or so, a nice long drawn out battle.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
You may certainly try, my young Russian comrade. But though your body is solid steel, and your strength prodigious. It is Dracula who shall ever prevail.
By the White Wolf.
It's interesting to see like different people draw Colossus and think about how many bands of metal are on each of his like the parts of his body. So Sienkiewicz draws too many. There are like too many lines. They need to be like maybe half that, and they're like so they're thicker bands. It's a neat thing, like Spider-Man's web, you know, on his webbing. Like if you don't get it exactly right, it looks weird, and if you know draw too many one way or the other, it doesn't exactly work. Anyway, but this is not like the ideal Colossus.
This is like at Comic Cons, like when it, you know, with commissions, I just hope like I don't get asked to draw Spider-Man for that reason because of the spider web on his costume. Like I prefer to draw, you know, like at least with like Venom and Carnage, you can be more fluid with those characters with how you do the line work. Where Spider, you know, as you say, Spider-Man has to be exactly right, or you're gonna see something's off. And that's terrifying, you know.
Have a favorite? Do you have a favorite commission that you do, or one that you're like you like the way that you do a commission of a particular character?
Like any character, or
yeah, like I mean, is there one like one? Or I guess in one, do people ask you particularly for something, or two? Do you like particularly drawing something for people?
I like to stick with horror-based things or creepy stuff, and you know, with comic book characters, I love drawing the X-Men, and also I like to draw more symbiotes, you know, Venom and Carnage. Yeah. So I got to draw one Carnage piece, which was cool, but it was insane, like, but the good insane. You know, it was like Carnage versus the X-Men, which would be a cool book if there hasn't been one already. But yeah, so
very cool.
But yeah, I like drawing like monsters and weird stuff. So there's one person who comes by. His name's Julian, and he'll bring sketchbooks sometimes.
I believe we are familiar with Julian.
Yeah. So I drew in one or two of his sketchbooks, and one of them's themed of like one of them was characters wearing band T-shirts, and I loved that concept. So I got Rogue wearing a Full of Hell T-shirt, and it's all like the nasty death metal, illegible like writing. So I'm like, I was going with like goth Rogue in like X-Men Evolution, where she is kind of gothy in that one.
She is.
Yeah, and I'm like, the kind of band she would listen to. That, you know, so it's fun to do something that's off the wall like that, you know, and then
totally,
it's something that expands the creativity, right? And it's just a good exercise. And
agreed.
Yeah.
For that sketchbook, I went like a little more meta, and Chris, you helped me with this. I did Nightwing and Robin, and Nightwing is wearing the Flying Burrito Brothers, and Robin is wearing the birds, and they're like, it's a deep cut because obviously both guys are bird characters, or they have like a bird theme to their superhero persona, and the Flying Burrito Brothers obviously has their brothers in it, but more so the Flying Burrito Brothers are an evolution of the birds, like they transform from the birds into the Flying Burrito Brothers, as Robin transforms into Nightwing. So it was like a deep.
It's a super deep nerdy cut.
Deep.
It was at TCAF last year. It was at TCAF.
That's right.
You and I were just nerding out hardcore over it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That was fun
cool.
to do. Yeah, that was a fun one. So I'm a big fan of Julian's sketchbooks. But back to your Spider-Man problem. If anyone ever does ask you to do Spidey, you can always get away with doing the Spider-Man 66 costume, which stops having all the lines on it. It only has lines on a few spots. Like you can kind of do the middle of his mask and maybe a little bit of like around the spider logo. I don't think we actually have to do all the webs all the time. Like he can be a cartoon character that is sort of like, you know, wearing a variation of the classic Ditko or Ramita costume, but I think you can get away with all sorts of interpretations of that character. But yeah, fun. I gotta go look through Julian's book next time and see your Rogue. That sounds like a cool one.
Yeah. And then he has one more note quickly. He has another book too of like or I got to draw like a movie character. So I drew the tall man from
Right.
Phantasm. So it's
Oh,
you know
yeah.
like the oddball thing like that. I love drawing stuff like that, and you know,
That's awesome.
yeah. Anyway, sorry. Continue with.
No, it's very cool.
That's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We can't match his raw power, Wolverine, but there are other ways to defeat him.
I've seen the movies, Elf. I know what to do. So we're to understand here that there are Dracula movies,
Right. So
and Dracula is real.
Right. And it's in pop culture too. Yeah.
Right. So he's right. So when she comes, okay, I gotta let that go. Extruding a single claw from each hand, Wolverine forms the sign of the cross. Oh, nice. As I told the child, that ploy is useless unless you truly believe.
In that case, Vampire, your cause is lost, for I believe.
Yeah, you have hurt me, Nightcrawler, but I am far from beaten. My powers are legion. With but a thought, I can summon lightning from the heavens.
Yikes!
I love your yikes, by the way.
Thanks.
Becca, did you ever watch Justice League Unlimited?
Yes, I've seen some episodes from that.
So in that show, Hawkgirl has this has like a mace or a club that is made of nth metal, and like DC, it has both cosmic and magical properties. Like it's an opportunity they could have made it so that, you know, like adamantium also has maybe an edge on Dracula, like it can do something to him that he can't affect it. So he can affect his flesh, but not his bones, maybe, or I don't know, something where you know that's an edge they could have. Maybe, who knows? Anyway, now begins a deadly game of tag as Nightcrawler teleports from forest to meadow and back again in a desperate attempt to evade Dracula's thunderbolts. I believe they're lightning bolts, by the way, because thunder is just sound.
Thunder's
Anyway.
not, but doesn't matter.
But no matter where he goes, the lightning finds him. Eventually, he will tire. His pace will slacken. And when that happens, he knows he will die. Meanwhile,
I took advantage of the confusion to slip away. Dracula hasn't even realized I'm missing. Wolverine said there's supposed to be a weather station here. I guess Dracula's made a few changes. I can't hear anything, and no one else seems to be around. This place is huge, and it gives me the creeps. The halls lead underground, and they go on forever. Without Wolverine's enhanced senses, I haven't a prayer of finding, a coffin. But whose? Dracula's? Storm's? You kill a vampire by hammering a stake through its heart and then cutting off its head. If Aurora's in that box, if she's been changed, can I go through with that? I'll have to. Aurora, forgive me. Empty. It's empty. Thank God. I'll pour holy water into it. That'll make this coffin useless to any of the undead. I hope
And
it's
soggy.
Dracula's box. What's that?
yeah.
I'm like, and soggy. Mm.
That's, I know, right? Ew.
Yeah.
Serve him right to be caught in the open at sunrise and burned to a crisp. But if Roro isn't here, where is she? Ugh.
I like those pictures of her, by the way, like going through with the hat slanted over her eyes, like the shadow, and her. She was very expressive. It was like a fun page to read, kind of.
Yeah, she kind of like play acting too, right?
Yeah, and there's an Indiana Jones vibe to her as well, with
Totally.
like the pant color and the jacket and then the hat. And this is a couple years after Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's just really weird. Like she's like, you know, she's the tech expert on the team. Like she's a bit of a whiz kid. And then it's just like these pop culture things like, oh, we know how to kill vampires. Not from folklore. We didn't do any research. We just watched a lot of TV.
Right.
Odd.
Hello, kitten.
Oh no. Oh no.
How nice of you to visit.
Her eyes red, her teeth fanged like Dracula's, but How? You don't become a true vampire until you rise from the grave 3 days after you die. Everybody knows that. If Aurora's standing here, she can't be dead. And if she isn't dead, she can't be a vampire. The transformation must begin while you're still alive. Everybody knows that. And the process is warping Aurora's mind.
Don't resist, kitten. I don't want to hurt you. The change is really quite wonderful. Kitty, stop.
Don't worry, Aurora. I'm not going far.
That stake is no defense, child. With my mutant elemental powers, I can summon a wind to batter you senseless. There is no escape.
Aurora, fight him. You told me you were a goddess consecrated to life. Prove it. Reach within you to your heart and soul and fight him. By the way, it's a really creepy shot of her all in black with the red eyes.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's great.
It looks great. If you want my life so badly, then take it. I won't try to stop you.
Elsewhere.
You stand still, Wolverine.
So do we, pal. And we'll keep hammering at him until something gives. Have you considered, little man, that something might be you?
No more than you've considered that you might lose.
What? Nightcrawler, no!
Dracula's demonic lightning bolts have chased Nightcrawler across Central Park. Realizing that he can't outrun them, the German-born X-Men decides to turn the murderous situation to his advantage, regardless of the cost. But when the smoke clears, only the X-Men have fallen. Was that your dog?
That was my dog, sorry.
No, my dog was just in here too, and he shook and then he left.
Perfect.
And then
sound.
yours made the same shake like
Mine
5
hasn't
seconds
barked
later.
yet.
Yeah.
So knock on wood.
Yeah. I'm surprised
Such
mine hasn't barked
courage.
yet.
Mine is back. You might hear some squeaking. There's a squeak toy.
Oh, I hear it.
Don't worry, buddy.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Relax. Have a seat.
Such courage, such audacity. Your mutant comrades are indeed splendid foes. What will you do with...
Oh, sorry.
What will you do with them, my lord?
Slay them.
That Dracula is something.
That's an odd...
You will never... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just think it was an odd picture. Or an odd
Okay.
panel.
Okay. Wait. That Dracula is something you will never do.
Traitorous witch! You will pay for that. Enjoy your freedom, Wind Rider. It will not last long. We have shared blood. We are bound. One heart, one mind, one soul for all eternity.
Your hold on me is broken, vampire.
You cannot return to what you were, Aurora, any more than you can deny what you have become.
That may be so, Dracula, but I can ensure that your evil never destroys or taints another's life.
We're back to the word taint again. Interesting.
Mhm.
Using the elemental powers that are her namesake, Storm generates a madcap blizzard around Dracula, blinding him with snow, freezing him with sub-zero temperatures and arctic winds. In desperation, the vampire seeks the nearest refuge, the Top of the Park restaurant, 50 stories above Columbus Circle.
Look out!
Storm presses her attack, but with a skill born of 500 years of experience in the arts of war, Dracula parries her ferocious assaults, and soon, almost inexorably, the tide of battle turns against her.
Your ability does you credit, Aurora, but it will avail you not.
I
I am your lord, woman, your master. Your will is nothing. Mine is all. Bow before me, Aurora. Yield. Automatically, in obedience to his vampiric compulsion, unable at first to stop herself, she obeys. Bare your neck. Take a last look at the world of the living, Aurora. When next your eyes open, you will be the huntress, and these creatures, your rightful prey. Again, she reacts without conscious thought, part of her yearning for Dracula's kiss. But then...
No, I defy you, Dracula. I deny you. I shall not kill, and you cannot force me.
She scoops up a broken table. Sorry, she scoops up a broken table leg to serve as an improvised stake. But fast though she is, Dracula is faster.
Twice now. You've resisted my control, something I wouldn't have dreamed possible. But this is the last time.
There's a lot of explaining, like narrating, explaining the action, because the action isn't clear enough. Like the fact that she got a table leg. You know what I mean? Like we see a stake in her hand, but Claremont has to tell us that it's from a broken table. Even though the tables that are turned over look like they are cocktail style. Anyway, moving on.
Drop your weapon, Wind Rider. Yield. Or I'll rip this cow's throat out.
Let her go, Dracula. None shall die because of me.
G.I. Joe number 1.
I know.
Oh my God.
I know.
A favorite of mine for sure.
Group of 7 comics homage print number 4. 4.
Yeah.
Peregrines and a team.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
That's the month, right? It's that time period. It's very funny. And like another good drawing here, you know, he can draw these dramatic faces really well.
That attitude will change once you've joined me as my vampiric consort.
I meant what I said. None shall die because of me. I will be true to myself, Dracula. I will not shed the blood of innocents. But to save them, I will destroy you, regardless of how long it takes, or the price I must pay. I will end your reign of terror.
You would not be the first to try. But I do not wish us to be foes, Aurora.
How can we be anything else? You may transform me into a vampire. You may even slay me, but you will never own me. I was born free, vampire, and I will... Wait, let me reread that, sorry. I was born free, vampire, and free I will remain.
I knew from the moment I tasted your blood that you were a woman of rare beauty, rare courage, rare strength. Those qualities attracted me to you. Now they have defeated me. When I, quote-unquote, lived, I was a prince. You are one of a handful of women I have met since, worthy of being my queen. Most of them, I just give them a fruit basket and say, bye-bye. I offer wonders beyond imagination, but I will not. I find I cannot force you to accept them.
I do love how he's got the ragdoll other woman.
And he's taking a bow while holding her dead arm.
You know, and she's kind of like, and he's like, Aurora, like, you know, he's kind of giving all these
yeah.
And she's like, I'm right here.
It's like, I respect you for standing up for yourself. I admire that in a woman. Meanwhile, the other woman he has in his
class. Meanwhile,
you know,
exactly.
I'm taking this one with me when I go.
Exactly.
This woman, I've called her a cow.
Yeah.
She's the doggy bag of this restaurant. It's terrible. Like, she's just this, and of course, you know, she's awake this entire time, and she's saying like, "Play dead, play dead, play dead, play dead."
Or it's like he's a visual. of like that one dude that's like, oh yeah, I support feminism and whatever, and then in his private time he'll like hang out in like Reddit or something, writing like the most misogynistic, horrible stuff ever. Like
Oh,
here's the
that's
visual
totally-
right there of that person. Right
Yes.
there. Anyway, sorry, that went off topic completely.
No, it's okay. And his pants
yeah.
are so tight. Anyway,
Yep.
Skinny
Oh
pants.
yes, they are.
You have earned Dracula's respect, and hence your life.
You won't escape that easily, Dracula.
Don't push your luck, Wind Rider. The world is vast. You could search for a score of lifetimes and never find even a trace of me. When next we meet, if that night ever comes, it will be in a place and time of my choosing. Till then, farewell.
Dawn, Greenwich Village.
I'm sorry I'm late. I needed to be by myself for a while. Are you all...
We're fine, Roro.
Albeit singed round the edges. We get in hand? No. we get es in hand? She's flying out of the sun. She doesn't look like she's in pain. If she can stand the daylight, the vampiric infection is gone. She's okay. She's cured. Aurora!
Oh, kitten, my brave, precious, wonderful kitten.
I was so scared.
So was I.
Hey, what do the guys think seeing us ball our heads off like a couple of girls?
What?
Like a couple of sillies. Hey, what do the guys think seeing us ball our heads off like a couple of old sillies with our feminine emotions?
Those emotions. In the end. They can think what they please, kitten. I do not care. I have no way to thank you, kitty. Such a debt is beyond human payment.
You're alive, Aurora, and that's what's important. That's enough for me.
Downstairs, joyful reunions continue as Storm is greeted by Harmony, Misty Knight, and Misty's partner and best friend, Colleen Wing. And Misty pulls a gun.
Yeah. And that's it.
So Misty's there. It's
Oh,
amazing.
right there. Okay, I missed.
Yep.
I somehow missed that part. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's because it's the tiniest panel in the entire issue.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know what happened, and although she'd really rather not, Aurora obliges them.
Kitty risked everything when she confronted me in the castle. Psychologically, I was a vampire, as bloodthirsty as Dracula, though physically, I was still human. She gambled my love for her would outweigh Dracula's influence.
Aurora had me going for a minute there. I thought I was finished.
In truth, kitten, it was a very near thing.
Phone
Phone
Aurora.
Aurora. Oh, sorry.
No.
Wait.
You're right.
Oh, okay. Phone Aurora or you. Long distance.
Now, Becca, can you do a Scottish accent or no?
No, I cannot.
Chris, do you want this one?
You can do it if you want.
I'm happy to sit this one out.
Okay, fine.
Aurora, this is Moira McTaggart. I want you the Irish back on the island immediately. Collect Scott on the way. Professor Xavier has taken a turn for the worse.
Oh no!
Oh no!
And Wolverine's got another beer or a cup of soup that it says Great White North, eh?
Great branding.
Like, and truthfully, we all know. I mean, as three Canadians here, we know you can't get Great White North a beer south of the border, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
It sounds
It's not like that brand got out and about. It's
The
up
one
here to
store
only in
Greenwich
Canada.
Village that sells it.
I wish there was a beer with that
man.
packaging. It looks like the No Frills, No Name. Great White North, eh?
Yeah.
It's Great White North, eh? Lager.
There's you know what? There's enough craft breweries around, especially in Ontario now. I'd be like, guys, someone make this, and someone
Yeah.
will.
Someone will, yeah. That is true.
Who will?
Shoots and Ladders, the game of superhero madness. This next issue. This was bonkers.
It was bonkers.
It's so strange.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say,
Oh,
Chris?
well, what I was going to say was it's interesting, that final kind of like Dracula has respect for Storm bit, right? So this I want to say this is the third time. Yeah, this is the third time. So as you're saying, Becca, like Storm is like super powerful, right? Like super powerful.
Yeah.
Rival, becomes leader of the team, like up there, A-list power character.
Mhm.
And this is at least for sure the second, maybe even the third, where she has gone head to head with a male antagonist. And the male antagonist is, I believe it happens with Magneto. It happens with Doctor Doom, 100%. And now it's happened with Dracula. They're like, well, I respect you, female opponent. And therefore the fight is now over and I will retreat. Like, it's this weird theme that has come up a couple of times about, and it's always her. It's always one-on-one final battle of like the two most powerful people. And it's always like, you have my respect. As like it's they did it again. There she is.
There she is.
Yay, Storm.
She is.
I think
Yes.
in like 1982 context, it was viewed as forward thinking.
Right.
Like having her not be, I mean, she's not ogled at so much anymore since like the beginning of the series, where they always had her in the swimsuit and like I guess she is with her outfit, taking a shower or swimming nude or whatever. But she's
I
like
need to feel alive and get
she's definitely portrayed every time as a powerhouse.
Yeah.
But like the culture of the time and like Claremont's male bias like is just ever present, whether he is ahead of the curve that he's like in the world he's living or not. From 2023 it just
but
reads
it's also
brutal.
this weird, but it's also juxtaposed always against this strange like and definitely of the time, but like hint of romanticism too. So like Dr. Doom's like, I respect you as an opponent, and also maybe if things were different, you and I could probably hook up.
Yes, you'd be worthy. Right? Like you'd be worthy of being my queen.
And like you get that feeling Dracula too. It's like, wow, but like in another life we should totally be together.
Yeah,
because you're worthy of me. It is this weird, power thing, then pseudo romantic thing. It's Magneto and her have it going back and forth too, where she's like, yeah, I respect you too. And they're like tension, like romantic tension.
Yeah,
like it's such a you're totally like written by a boy. Like,
yes,
that's how you talk
absolutely.
To girls. That's how you talk to girls. You tease them on the schoolyard because that shows you how you like them.
I hate that so much.
Right. Oh, Banshee.
Yeah, that abuse you're taking from that person, that means they love you.
That means they like you.
No, if someone treats you like that, you run away. You run as far as you can.
Exactly.
And you use your sonic scream and you fly.
Oh, yeah.
Banshee. This is my first Banshee action figure. I'm very, very happy to have this.
Yeah, you were pretty anti-Banshee there for a while.
I gotta tell you, Chris, after getting my hands on this one, this is like a standout in the set. It's amazing. Amazing figure.
Becca, if you go back, if you ever find the time, I do the Banshee voice, and it's become a real fun part of this my bad Irish accent that ends up going all the way all across Ireland, goes everywhere, including into Lucky Charms territory. And so I need to get my hands on a Banshee.
Unfortunately, it's in a 3-pack.
Yeah, I know.
Wait for them to make one in the green suit, and that'll probably hopefully we'll see that next year. So this story continues in X-Men, Uncanny X-Men King Size Annual 6.
Okay,
and it is by Sienkiewicz again, and it makes me wonder if this was supposed to be a longer, like a 3-parter. And he was slow, and so they pushed it back. Or Cockrum is ready to be back on the series. Like, was this going to be an inventory issue? And it just spilled out. So I don't know what the deal is. It definitely does read like a 2-part. It doesn't read as one story. But this is like they fight him, and then they go to fight him again somewhere else.
Is it close in publication? Is it like the next?
It's about 5 months apart.
Oh, okay. Then for
it's
sure.
Like April and November, maybe.
Okay, and okay.
And I wonder if they did it issued to like set up the annual, Like, so the annual isn't out of the blue. They give it like one issue to sort of set it up. I don't really know. I looked it up as much as I could, and I could not find anything to explain like why this happened. In these two different things, like, was this going to be a graphic novel, and they broke it up into smaller form, or I don't know what it was going to be. But there is, like, again, his use of, like, maybe this is a model, you know, like the clothing is so specific, and that even his lines are not like other comic book lines that we would see. They're like his signature sketchy, inky pen stroke. Yeah.
Yeah,
that sounds really weird. Like,
and he goes on. You're saying he goes on to New Mutants.
He does a run on New Mutants that's quite short. He didn't want to take on X-Men. He felt that that he was going to kill the book. That his style was too abstract in the direction that he wanted to go to be the best version of himself. But if you just look up like his portraits that he does like a lot of live painting too. He's an alchemist. He's a different species of artist, not like the traditional school. He comes from the traditional school, but he really became something unique. And worth everyone checking out more work from Bill Sienkiewicz. And not the easiest name to pronounce when you read it.
No.
But I think his Instagram handle might be that Polish guy. Like, that's what he. What?
It's good. It's a good handle.
I think growing up as like I think he's a Pennsylvanian and New Jerseyan. Like, he's that area. I think the immigrant community that he's kind of from, it stood out that he was Polish amongst the other people that were there, and so he's got that nickname of that Polish guy because his name is hard to pronounce. So it's the Polish guy. Yeah.
I see that name and I'm like, I'm not touching that. I'm just like, oh, him. Yes, Bill.
Yeah.
Bill.
Love his stuff.
Yes, Bill. But he'd be like the ideal guy to draw a Dracula book. Like, he's tops. Like, if you had someone, just his inkiness is so perfect for it. Hey, Chris, did you ever read Jeff Lemire's The Question on DC Black Label?
No.
Becca, did you ever read that?
I think I might have. Like,
I think it's maybe
years and years ago.
2019-ish.
Okay.
I believe it's Dennis Cowan on pencils and Sienkiewicz on inks.
Yeah.
So he would like just create this atmosphere. You know how The Question has his face, like, there's a chemical that makes his face appear and disappear.
Yeah.
Like the smoke of it. He's just like a master of that, of like that thick textured smoke. Yeah, his artist edition is mind-boggling. Yeah, just he's really cool. What he does with ink is incredible.
Cool.
Really worth checking out. Everybody should check him out. On that note, Becca, where can we find you on the interweb?
You can check out my website, thebecka.com. All my socials are there on the front page. And is it okay if I put in some artwork in? I'm not sure how this works here on StreamYard.
Well, you can put some stuff up here. We can share whatever you want. We can or if you have the option to share.
If it
stop sharing
works.
mine.
Stop
So on the bottom, there is a thing that says present.
There. I made sure to stop mine.
Present.
And then it gives you some options to share some stuff. So please do. I've also added your website link to the description of this video. So you can always scroll down anyone and you'll see Becca's website in the description below.
Let's see.
At the same time, your URL is thebecka.com. Easy to find.
Okay. Yes, thebecka.com. Does this work? Okay. Okay, sorry. This isn't working.
Sorry, it's okay.
As well.
I've added it to the chat.
Okay. Okay, I think it's my browser that's causing problems right now. But
nice.
Just check out yeah, I know, nice. So I'm sorry about that. But anyway, it's thebecka.com. The pre-order link for Wormhole Club 2 is on there on one of the first things you see. You can also read the Wormhole Club Tragedy 1 for free, or at least you get a preview of it on my website. You can also read my award-winning graphic novel, Gehenna Death Valley. So everything except for the last few pages of Gehenna, or you can also read it on my website too. And there's an online store as well. And yeah. So what do you guys have coming up soon?
Well, we still have a few copies left. It's basically out of print. We have maybe I think just over 10 copies left of our trade paperback, Group of 7, A Most Secret Tale, which covers the first 6 issues of our series. Issues 7 and 8 are available now through our website at groupofsevencomics.ca. Of course, it's the number 7. You can follow us on socials at Group of 7 Comics. And number being 7. We're going to be visiting TCAF in some form. We still don't know what form yet that will be, but we're going to be
get on the Are you
we're on the waiting list,
or?
but
Man,
but we might be somewhere else. There might be someone who welcomes us to a table and chair for.
Will we see you at TCAF?
I don't know. If I do go, I may just crash it or something, like outside or something. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, just because I want to pump out Wormhole Club Tragedy 2 as much as I can. So you will see me in Cambridge at the Hero's Tale at their April 15th event, along with Slam Press Tomes. We got Frankenstein coming out too, a Kickstarter coming out in October. And there's lots of artists part of that project too. So it's like a coffee table art book, but with quotes from the book Frankenstein. And just waiting to hear back up from other shows that I should be appearing to, but I'll post it online as soon as I know more info.
Right.
So, yay.
I'm going to be in Montreal for the Festival Bande Dessinée de Montréal, MCAF, at the end of May, and that's going to be tons of fun. And besides that, I don't think we've booked anything else, but I want to look into a few other travel shows with maybe a bit of an Atlantic flair. We'll see.
Yeah.
And Conrad says, love to talk about Frankenstein. Yes, for sure. Reach out to Becca.
I gotta get you and Martin to talk, man. So yeah, we'll talk. Conrad, we'll talk.
Awesome.
Apologies if I called you something else earlier in the stream. I suck at names. I'm sorry. Wednesday night reviews.
It's a disorienting thing with all the names there, and then trying to read the text of the comic book on the screen. It can be very challenging. And then
having my dog here, what are you doing talking at the computer?
We have plenty of dog interaction on this channel. There's dogs barking. There's us getting up from our chairs and getting our dogs.
They should be asleep now. Come on, it's late. It's late. Go to bed, dogs.
Oh, mine's not sleeping yet. So
mine was asleep and then woke up, but he should be done for the night. But speaking of being done for the night, thank you, Becca, for being with us tonight. It was a real treat having you on, and this is the most I've ever talked to you in my entire life. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to hang with you and talk Dracula in one of the weirdest and maybe lamest versions of Dracula that there is out there. I mean, he could beat up Count Floyd, but I don't think he would be able to handle any other major vampires. This guy was he was a jerk.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for having me on your show. It was a lot of fun.
Anytime.
And yeah. And we'll cross paths soon. And yes, I think this is the most I've talked to both of you after. How many years have we known each other? At
I don't know. We're still new to all this, it feels like. So I'm still meeting people that I've seen before, but never had the chance to. Never had a chance to actually hang out. But thank you again. And then thank you to everyone who's in the chat tonight and everyone who watches this on the replay. Please do us a favor and click like, subscribe to the channel, add a comment, tell us what you think of the issue, of Bill Sienkiewicz, of Dracula in general, the X-Men comics, whatever you want to talk about. We'd appreciate that. And we'll catch everyone next time on Previously in X-Men. There you go. Have a wonderful night. Cheers. And we are almost out.